Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Tour the EV Era Forum. The electric vehicle era has begun. To achieve the global consensus on net zero 2050, electric vehicles have been seen as the key to decarbonizing road transport. Today, we are honored to have global industry leaders here with us to share and explore electric vehicles in varied aspects. First, we are delighted to welcome Mr. Frank Huang, the chairman of Taiwan Advanced Automotive Technology Development Association, to give us an opening speech. Welcome, Dr. Huang.
Welcome to all the attendants from all over the world. I would like to thank you, so many distinguished guests, to join this meeting. Let's talk about the clean energy. Okay, the global has set 2050 will become zero carbon dioxide emission. One of the most critical issue is automobile. In today's, if you estimate, eliminate EVs, still we have a lot of cars on the road still use gas, which means use engine, okay? But in the past several years, maybe 3-4 years, China has promote everything into the EV. Let me explain the difference of EV. The EV means you don't need a engine. Okay. Most important, when you charge the electricity, EV don't care where you. I don't care whether you're from carbon dioxide, you're from coal, you're from nuclear power, clean energy. It's all the same. It's electricity. So after EV, it's crystal clear. We will not burn carbon dioxide. So, but if you take a look at seriously, the EV, it's a moving computer and the automobile, which means that's why obviously that China has achieved very low cost, incredible pricing automobile, EV. Because you just assembly electronics with a wheel, with a seat, okay? So because of this, before, the automotive industry, its most important is engine capacity. China has not been compared to Japan, Germany, Italy. China is not that strong in the engine. However, when we eliminate engine, then focusing on the electric charge, now all we do is watching all the electronic component. Of course, on the other hand, we try to have a new ADAS and new automotive drive. All this actually is since the create the automobile to today, it's a major evolution because you look back on the origin of the automobile industry, it starts from actually the cheap automobile industry is when we find gasoline. And in the Standard Oil Rockefeller family, in order to burn gasoline, they helped to build up the very huge automotive industry in the United States. Now, this is, after that, this is the first time we don't need looking into the, gasoline, this oil creative automobile. So this means that within the next 25 years, everybody has to use the EV, no choice. Because if you don't want to burn gasoline. This way create a new condition for all the automobile big country, Japan, Germany, Italy, France, and no wonder an American. Okay, so this is an error. When we start this Tata, our goal is to create sufficient electricity to support electronics, to support this industry. But nevertheless, we did not really understand what's going on. But within 3 years, Chinese EV is booming, crazy. Of course, when we start Tata, our goal is supply electronics and everything else. It's originally and the tire structure that's not by electronics industry. But as of today, you're looking at Tesla, a lot of components made in Taiwan or made in China. So with the rising of the EV, Taiwan become a very, very important segment to support the future development of EV, because we are looking with what we did in the notebook, handset, servo, all this. This, except some specialty for this mobile car, the rest of the electronics, actually, we can do it. So right now, this Tata has, together with Computex, because all the electronics will be shared. I think this is the new timing. Actually, more and more a chip design company which want to raise on the usage of the electronics. They can achieve CPU, ADAS, all this. So what I think, more and more, one EV, a lot of percentage is because of automatic drive and other new software system, and the no human driving. This is going to be totally dependent on the development electron, especially semiconductor. So in this way, that EV has joined a very big environment of our chip electronics and all this. And hope that this discussion today will be show that what each of the company achieve what they did so far, and then we'll see looking forward the future prospect. Okay. Thank you very much to join us. We hope you enjoy all the keynote speakers. They come over the different country, and they have a different achievement. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Huang. Please remain on the stage. Before jumping into the keynote, we would like to take this precious opportunity and invite all our distinguished guests to the stage for a group photo. Let's welcome Mr. Takeshi Fusei, Vice President of Renesas Electronics Corporation. Mr. Makoto Morikawa, Vice President and COO of MONET Technologies. Mr. Karthi Madhavan, Country Head of Tata Consultancy Services. Mr. Tian Song Gan, Head of Program Quality of Lilium. Mr. Carlo Donzella, CEO of exida Development SRL, in collaboration with TUV Nord and SAFEXPLAIN project. Ms. Sakura Yang, Deputy Secretary General of Taipei Computer Association. Please look at the camera in front of you. Can we get a thumbs up? Can we get a double thumbs up? Thank you. Please take your seat. Now let's invite our first keynote speaker, Mr. Carlo Donzella, CEO of exida, Development SRL, collab with TUV Nord, to the stage to share how AI can enable the future of electric vehicles.
Oh, can you hear me? Yes? Good. Okay, thanks everybody. Thanks for having called me and us especially. I'm in fact representing here this company, and we are collaborating with TUV Nord in this specific case. But especially, I think that the main topic of the presentation and the real reason why we are here is to present the results of this European project that is, in fact, also sort of presenting a bit the sort of position of this R&D from Europe, and it is an R&D anyway that is very strongly industrially oriented, so it's not academic oriented. It's very much informed about what's going on in academia, both in terms of standards and regulation, but it has a very, very strong eye on what is really needed and sort of acceptable in the industrial context. And I know that I have about 25 minutes, and so I have more slides than usual than I can actually speak about in details. I leave them anyway because you can grasp something out of this, but I'll try to concentrate on some fundamental questions. First of all, the context. Well, now it seems that talking about EV is almost obvious, almost trivial, but I mean, it's not really like this. It's not something that was established long time ago. And just by chance, I came across this presentation that was done in another age, 10 years ago, by a very important person in a very important organization. The VDA is the most important German association for automotive, and this Automotive CIS conference in Berlin is very well attended worldwide, and where I mean, most of the new technological advancement in automotive are presented. And 10 years ago, there was this sort of shocking announcement that the car of the future would be electric, connected, and autonomous. I mean, obviously, I mean, it makes us sort of smiling now. 10 years ago, it was sort of revolutionary, okay? 10 years, it's not that long, but it's not even that short. But why that? Because technology in car has a very long but not linear tradition. And we have some stunning results that sometimes even people in automotive doesn't know. The first patent for an electric vehicle was 2 centuries ago. And the first electronics part in car was more than 100 years ago. And also, most, more recent cases like airbag and the first microprocessor in car have now more than half a century of life. But all this is not linear. So there are cases in which you have incredible innovation that led nowhere, okay? And also this, I like this, the fact that the first plane autopilot was in 1912, okay? Purely gyroscopic based. Then, what we can say more about this? Well, now we have mostly the famous computers on wheels. Computers on wheels is, I mean, I remember that in the 90s it was already used. Now we have a software-defined car, okay? Well, it's not for free, eh? It's not for free. I mean, car software, oops, sorry, not the right one. Car software is among the most complex software in the world. I mean, we do not have time to go through it, but you find the cases in which most of the men in the street would say, well, of course, the software of, say, a plane is much more complex than a software in a car. No. The software of an operating system is much more complex than a software in the car. No. The software of, you can say, it's one of the most complex software in the world. Okay, next. We have a sort of, I called it the missing link between the driven car and the real future of the driverless car, and it is called ADAS. In this context, I assume that it's a very well-known acronym, Advanced Driver Assistance Systems. It's a very fast-growing segment, also because it's very modular, so very flexible, and also very remunerative. And today, what we call semi-autonomous is basically a bunch of ADAS functions put together in a moving vehicle. Now, this is possibly the most important slide I want to present today. I was trying to convey, I'm not sure that outside of Europe and of US, everybody is aware that this idea of we are going towards the full autonomous car, I followed also a panel this morning. It was not on cars. It was in general on, general AI, but autonomous car is general AI in cars. How close are we to this? I mean, it's probably like throwing a match into a pool of gasoline. There is nothing which is so deeply divisive, okay? You have two factions that are absolutely at war. And when I mean at war, I'm not joking. In US, some of the experts have to go with escorted because they are threatened with death because they are in one of the two camps, okay? And of course, I mean, there are some reasonable aspects in both, but when they become so extreme, they are not really very useful because all what is on the other side is just seen as the devil. I mean, there is no constructive position. On one side, you have, I mean, of course, we have already almost everything. It's just better let us work and do not waste our times with stupid regulations, whatever. And on the other side, you are going to make a complete disaster. You are not aware. You are either stupid or greedy or both. And you are just want to sacrifice humanity in order to have non-functioning autonomous vehicles. Well, the idea is that, of course, not only us, but we think that we can provide a good ground with solid technical and scientific reasons to say that it is possible to have a reasonable, balanced, and solid position that it's not in any of these extreme camps. Okay, now something more detailed on the project itself without too many details. If you are interested, you can find that there are all the places where you can connect and find more information. But just to set the scene, so the idea is that we are concentrating on what is called critical embedded systems. So where, if there is something which is not working, you make fatalities, okay? And typically, the area of automotive, space, railway, avionics, and so on, if you want to have a critical embedded system, you need certification qualification. And there are very well-known, complex, sophisticated standards covering processes and methods. And some of them, 61508 is the father of all functional safety standards. 26262 and SOTIF are very well known in automotive. And the idea is that at the moment, it is well known that machine learning and deep learning applications for cars are at odds with these standards because they are providing software which is not made in the same way that the traditional embedded software is made. So what? So, again, in this context of critically embedded system, failure or malfunction may result in severe harm to humans, but also there are safety is also about environmental disasters. And therefore, these standards have at least what are called verification and validation processes and safety measures applied in order to do what? Not to avoid risk. We know that there is no such thing as zero risk. But in order to allow what is known as acceptable risk, and this acceptability of risk, of course, is not based on an opinion, but it's something that can be rigorously measured. And each domain has its own guidelines and so on, and as I just mentioned before, for automotive, we have this couple of standards as the most important ones currently. Now, what is the issue with AI, specifically machine learning and deep learning? That the way in which they are, produced and used, they are so important for many advanced software functions. For instance, object detection. Object detection is something that it's relatively trivial now with machine learning and deep learning. It's an extremely tough task to model and with traditional programming. So it is very important to have them and to use them, but at the same time, they are extremely difficult to be evaluated according to these functional safety standards. So what? And first of all, why? Really, there is no time into going into these details, but just to give you a flavor, if you already know, you know what I'm talking about. If you are not, maybe you are interested, and you can check at our website. In the last, say, 30 years at least, all these standards are based on the so-called V model. The V model is a very structured way of producing and testing software. And it is highly structured and very well known and established now. It's not controversial at all. This is an extremely well-known piece of engineering. What is the, once you have this V model, the safety standards define what you have to do in order to be able to be certified for this, okay? So you have your own development model, and you know that to be ready for certification or qualification, you have to be ready to give evidence that you have followed certain processes and certain techniques. Okay, the point is that the safety-related development process does not follow this traditional way of producing software. So there are very many areas in all points of the V that cannot be simply reused in this model. And especially, just to mention one case which is understandable also by non-specialists, the role of the data. This morning we had a panel, there was also a panel on this relevance of data. I mean, data for traditional programming, they are important, but mostly critical just for testing. While in AI, if you do not have this massive amount of data for making the system learning, you go nowhere. And all this part is basically unregulated and not known how to regulate this in the traditional model. And this is what it makes this so complicated in our context. This fact that we have data everywhere for machine learning and deep learning. And basically the traditional standards have no provisions for this. And therefore, if you simply go to, in a traditional context, in an established context, you have one important product that makes heavy use of this AI, machine learning-based components. You go to a traditional outlet for certification, they say, sorry, we are not able to do anything like this for you because we are not prepared. We do not have the instruments for saying your system is safe or not. Now, the specific challenges, again, we do not want to go through it because this is a bit technical, but we have problem with control, we have problem with the data, we have problem with the lack of the so-called explainability and traceability in the development model. We have problem with the semantics. We have problem with the requirements. We have problem with the input data range, with the confidence. And also what is called the prediction accuracy. When you have a model, AI-based model, you need to have measurement of prediction. But this measurement of accuracy of prediction is again at odds with what is considered valid in the context, traditional context of functional safety. So the ambition of the project is that in spite of all these difficulties, it is possible without waiting that the new standards on which many international committees and working groups are working are available. This is still probably some years away. It is possible to adapt a number of relatively simple guidelines and techniques in order to use even the traditional standards in order to have certain cases in which certain application can be qualified and certified. And we have here an example. There is this very famous model called YOLO. Probably those of you in the field know it quite well. YOLO as such, I mean, it's impossible to do anything in terms of qualification or certification. But for instance, we are defining a safe YOLO And with this extension of the traditional YOLO library, you can have solution and products based on these solutions that are certifiable for safety. This is valid in all the three industrial cases that we have in the project, but in particular here the interest is that automotive is one of the three already present in the project. So far I talked in general, but now I would like to present you a few examples of real cases found during developments in which using models and not just, say, wild development has given us very, very precious information and has possibly avoided us serious troubles later on, in some cases in terms of quality of the product, but in the last case that we are going to see in a moment, very serious cases also for safety. So the first case is a traditional ADAS with very, very traditional functions based on this. Again, those in the know would immediately recognize this as very traditional functions expected by an ADAS system. And here the point was the idea of migrating the 64-bit architecture to a 32-bit architecture. The idea was, of course, to have a less demanding in terms of consume of resources, a less demanding system. And initially, it seemed that all the measured quality metrics in terms of accuracy and precisions were exactly the same, even better in some cases. But only because there was a very clear framework for what was expected, it was possible to realize that one of these metrics, robustness, in case of special situation, rain, fog, snow, and so on, this was extremely bad. So in spite of having good performances in, say, normal situation, in special situation, there was a dramatic reduction in terms of performance. And of course, this could very severely affect the actual use of a product based on this. This was spotted during the development phase. Another one, again, no time to go into any details, but you can immediately spot from the picture. This is a case of plate recognition, another very typical case of use of machine learning. You can see here that there are a lot of false positives. All these squares are when the system thinks that there is a plate there. So in this case, many plates, but actually there is only one plate. But this case is also interesting because this is a tree. And unlikely there is a tag or a plate there. Here again, this point was spotted because there were changes in input data distribution. Now, last example, possibly the most important one. A video of an actual simulation developed in the project. The system designed to recognize vulnerable road user and stop the vehicle to prevent collision. Okay, now, you see, an adult crossing, the system recognize it and actuate the emergency braking in due time. Very good. Now, same, everything is the same. Everything. But we do not have an adult crossing, a child. Oops, run over. That's not good, of course. It's not good, but the system worked. it acknowledged, it recognized the child. Too late. It was a problem of performance. And in this case, time to recognition was critical. And again, we were able to spot this during development. So there was a testing entirely simulated that was able to spot this very dangerous case. So all in all, the idea is that we have already interim results with components explainable and traceable by design. We have already started adapting FUSA standards to our own methodology, and we are also able to preserve sufficiently high level of performance to meet the safety goals. Thank you so much. So the idea is, on the basis of this and many other cases, I mean, there is no reason why we would say, no, at the moment it's not possible to use machine learning or deep learning. Plenty of low, mid, and high safety ADAS function can be actually implemented with DL solutions. Okay, I'm good in keeping time, and because this is almost the last one. And, but at the same time, the point is that you can use this, but standards and regulation are not your enemies, are your allied, in order to avoid to be in very bad moral and legal situations. Last slide. If you want to know more, basically, contact me and visit the site. There are a lot of freely downloadable deliverables. We are very busy in dissemination activities like this one. There is an advisory board. And if you connect, you'll see also a lot of exploitable results, including open software and open content. That's it. Thank you. I think maybe I tried to left a couple of minutes. If there are any requests for clarification or questions, please feel free. Or as I said, I mean, this is quite a thick subject, so you might want to use all the references to go consult and maybe come back to me and to the entire consortium. Okay, thank you so.
Thank you, Mr. Donzella, for shedding light on the industry. If there are any questions that anyone would like to discuss, we have some networking time after the event, so feel free to engage then. Now, let's welcome our next speaker, Mr. Takeshi Fusei, Vice President of Renesas Electronics, to talk about the recent trends in automotive semiconductors and how Renesas takes actions. Welcome, Mr. Fusei.
Hello. Good afternoon. Can you all hear me? It's a pleasure to be here, ladies and gentlemen. You don't want to really see my picture, so let me skip that. My name is Takeshi Fusei. I do marketing for Renesas. I've been in the chip industry for a long time, maybe perhaps a little bit too long, but I can tell you of all the years I've worked in this industry, now is probably the most exciting time. because of so many disruptions and evolutions, innovations are happening. So with you all, we are witnessing the history, and I hope we all make the history together. Renesas is a chip company, but over the years, we have grown organically as well as inorganic ways. And as you can see, we have acquired some companies, but the message on this slide is we have came a long way to become a solution company. So be it processor, microcontroller, analog power devices, but also we put a lot of emphasis on software, tools, development environment. So again, we will focus on solutions. We are a global company now. More than half of our employees. You probably think Renesas is a very, very traditional Japanese company, but that's really not the case anymore. We are situated globally, and more than half of the company is outside of Japan. And not only sales marketing locations, but we also have many, I shouldn't say many, multiple R&D sites outside of Japan across the globe. Okay, so we serve the IoT market, infrastructure market, as well as industrial, but today's topic, of course, is automotive. So we're going to talk about how we see the market, what's going on, what's the trend, but as well as, let me advertise a little bit about Renesas, right? So please bear with me. So this is one way of looking at what's going on. Carlo talked about also case, connected, autonomous, sharing, and electrification. Of course, these are happening. And you all heard of software-defined vehicle from development and manufacturing side of things. And there's this evolution happening in the electronics and electric architecture. So of all these things happening in parallel to electrification. So be it, okay, starting with battery powered EVs, but also you have heard many announcements on plug-in hybrids. So inexplicably, this is happening, and this is the area the innovation is happening. Okay, market. I don't need to talk about this. I'm preaching to the choir, right? We have heard some little bit of slowdown in EVs, but just like the chairman talked about, electrification will happen. And as you can see, very healthy growth across the globe. Right now, China, a lot of things going on. And again, this movement is across the globe, and we are living it together. Okay, ADAS. Also, very high growth. We all need to pay attention. Safety, regulations, integrity of systems, that's what we also are focusing on. But the point here is a lot of people, vehicles are equipped with assisted driving these days, cameras, radars, but going forward, more automation and more towards autonomous. And that's where we think we can play a significant role providing solutions there too. You have heard of EE architecture. So domain control, integration, zone control, integration. So the key here, the challenge is, it seems all simple, but when you integrate many functions into one, it's not only your programming becoming bigger on, for example, one processor, but you also need to deal with, in the vehicle industry, many suppliers supplying many different distributed systems. Now you do need to integrate let's say you're an OEM. You do need to integrate the system traditionally from many suppliers into one system. And so you need to figure out how your supply chain works. You do need to figure out what exactly your architecture will be. So we are in a stage where we are implementing the architectural assistance to our customers and market. This complexity of the evolving system and architecture entails different way of working. So I don't need to explain this slide, right? Used to be pyramid. Now it's a matrix. It's a mesh. So we are all partners. Okay, we are of course customers, we're suppliers, but at the same time we also need to work together as partners, and that's one important trend, and one thing that we all need to remember going forward. How do I know how much time do I have left? There's a chime. Okay. So okay, here, bear with me, this is the advertising bit, okay? Renesas offers scalability and flexibility. One thing that we always make sure, as you probably know, Renesas is well known for automotive processors, 16-bit, 32-bit, microcontroller, also system on chips called R-Car. And we make sure the software and IPs are reusable across different products all the time. And also, we make the commonality in different applications or base software, etc., to make different variations of vehicle development easier. Again, this is a repeat of what I just said, 16-bit, 32-bit, and SoC. On the left side, you see our proprietary architecture, and on the right side, you see ARM-based architecture products. You all know what ARM is, right? So not only in the microcontroller domain, we offer proprietary architecture, but also ARM architecture. This is what we announced last year, end of last year. Generation 5 is what we are working on. And from low-end entry microcontroller to the high-end SoCs, we are, as we develop, this new generation of processors will be ARM-based. The reason is to enable software-defined vehicle, having same architecture, having same IPs, ease of use, and reusability is going to be there for you to use Renesas solutions. This is a very complicated slide, but I tell you, the Generation 5 high-end SoC is hundreds of TOPS. You all know what a TOP is, right? Neural processing performance unit. So hundreds of TOPS, maybe thousands of TOPS. We are working on a platform that enable that much performance at a very efficient power consumption. That's one key that's what we are working on. So on the left side, mostly about hardware, leading and bleeding edge process technology. We offer analog power products along with our SoCs, so you can do a one-stop shopping. On the right side, it's more about software development environment. What we will do is going to be cloud native, so we will enable digital twin, and we will enable OTA over the air. We provide virtual models for digital twin. And also, we emphasize open source, open models wherever possible. So compared to some of the solutions out there, our solutions will be very based on very much the open standard platform based. So it's easier for you to build ecosystem, leverage what's out there as open and shared sources. Changing a gear a little bit, coming from being a very traditional semiconductor chip company, we are not used to, we have not really offered ease of use, UX, DX, but this is where we are putting a lot of emphasis on. We do put emphasis on catalog-based, internet-based businesses. We do modeling, and we take care of end-to-end design cycle. So we also working on the PCB level design platform, enabling this anyway. So that's the type of shift we are implementing in our company. So again, to become the total end-to-end solution provider. Let me skip the slide. Okay, so XEV, last but not least. This is a semiconductor view of XEV. As you can see, very, very healthy growth. A lot of growth and volume comes from, of course, battery EV, also because of the power devices, but also hybrid is going to continue. So we will continue to offer solutions for this market segment. And again, I'm preaching to the choir. This is the difference between conventional gasoline cars and EVs. I am not going to go into details, and I don't have any slides here, but there's a lot of architectural discussions in a mesh way, the matrix way that I just described with our traditional customers, but also OEMs, partners. I personally spend a lot of time with partners or potential partners because you just can't do this all alone. And so it's so exciting and important for us to work in discussing XEV area also from architecture point of view. Drivetrain integration. Some people talk about XE1 already. And so the energy efficient solutions will dominate this space. That's what I believe personally also. These are some of the other products besides microcontroller and SoCs. We do power devices. We recently announced entering gallium nitride. We do, of course, IGBT and SiC. And we do other analog devices also as a total solution again. So we do have the package for XEV solution, including our components, devices, as well as tools and environment. For scaling basis, okay, Renesas is a fab-light company. However, we also have our own fabs, wafer fabs, for digital products such as microcontrollers and SoCs, but also analog and power. This is an example of power. So we will continue to invest in new products technology, also software environment that I just talked about, and of course on the scaling manufacturing capability to serve the upcoming highly growing xEV and other new architectural evolution based businesses. I went through the slides very quickly. I apologize for the speed of it, but I hope I convey the message Renesas, on behalf of Renesas, we wanted to convey to you. And we are looking very much forward to working with each of you in this, again, very, very exciting era. So let's together make this happen. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Fusei, for your insightful presentation. Following, we have Mr. Makoto Morikawa, Vice President and COO of MONET Technologies, to present the society solutions provided by smart mobility in Japan with us. Please welcome Mr. Morikawa.
Excuse me in Japanese.
In Japanese.
ただいまご紹介に預かりましたモネテクノロジーズの森川でございます。本日はコンプテックス&イノベックス2024が盛大に開催されましたことをお喜び申し上げますとともに、このような機会を頂戴いたしましたことを深く感謝いたします。
Let me introduce myself first. I'm Morikawa in MONET Technology. I appreciate very much today I have this opportunity to attend this big event and make a keynote speech.
本日は日本におけるモビリティを活用した社会課題の最新解決事例をご紹介をいたします。
Today I'm going to make a presentation on how to harness mobility and mobile technology to solve Japan's social problems.
はじめに弊社の概要をお話をさせていただきます。設立は2018年9月、現在はソフトバンクとトヨタを筆頭に自動車メーカー各社から出資をいただいておりまして、早いもので5年が経過いたしました。
Let me introduce MONET Technology first. We were founded in September 2018, and we are a joint venture funded by SoftBank and Japan's big car maker like Toyota.
設立から一貫しておりますポリシーは社会課題解決ドリブンであるということです。
Now Japan is facing a lot of serious social problems.
2030年には3人に1人が65歳以上の移動困難者となります。地域の慢性的な医療課題、医療体制はの不足は深刻化しておりまして、地域の交通を支えるバス事業者、こちらの方も9割が赤字の状況となっているなど、課題先進国日本の状況はいずれも待ったなしの状況となっています。
These social problems Japan is facing include that by 2030, 1 out of 3 of the aged people in Japan will have difficulty moving. And also, the transit bus company who support the elderly people ran negative profit, 90% of them. And also, we have a serious shortage of medical doctors.
このような社会課題に対し、マース、データビジネス、自動運転の3つのソリューションでモビリティイノベーションの実現を目指しております。
To solve this social problem, MONET Technology is launching 3 major kinds of mobility innovation that include mass mobility as a service, data business, and self-driving.
まず、マースには、オンデマンドモビリティサービス、行政マース、医療マースの3つのラインナップがございます。
First, let me talk about mass mobility as service. Mass includes three major kinds of service. The first one is on-demand transportation service. The second is mobility service in government and public service. The third is about medical service.
1つ目のオンデマンドモビリティサービスでは、事前予約により行きたいときに行きたい場所へ行ける乗り合いサービスとなります。生活者の利便性向上に加えまして、AI を活用した最適配車システムにより、無駄な運行を排除することで、ドライバー不足への対応や自治体の財政負担への軽減、こちらを図っているという効果が確認をできております。
Let me talk about on-demand transportation service first. This service enables local residents to make reservation through a mobile app. And so they can go to any place they would like to go. And also we use AI technology to optimize the efficient traffic route to reduce waste.
オンデマンドモビリティサービスのモデル、フラッグシップモデル、これは群馬県の富岡市になります。
Let me introduce the flagship case of the on-demand transportation service. The service is happened in Tomioka City in the Gunma Prefecture.
富岡市はこれまで基幹バスやコミュニティバスなどが地域別、路線別に複雑に設定しておりましたけれども、市内全域を6台の車両でオンデマンドモビリティサービスに統一化されました。
In Tomioka City, we introduced the on-demand transportation service. We have 6 vehicles that are running through more than 400 pick-up places for local residents.
乗降ポイントは450箇所、イメージといたしましては250メートルに間隔で乗降ポイントが設定をされているようなことになります。
Basically, every pickup place is set up with a distance of 250 meters.
利用者数の KPI は2024年度に3万人を目標としておりましたけれども、2024年度時点で運行開始前の 1.8 倍となる4万5000人を超え、2年前倒しで目標を達成しています。
At first, we set up a target of 30,000 passengers by 2024. But now we have far exceeded that target to reach a usage passenger of more than 45,000 passengers. And also, we receive warm gratitude from local residents.
またこのサービスの導入で地域の商業施設の利用が促進されたといった声も頂戴しています。
And also, this service basically facilitate local travel route and also enliven local business and also make local residents more willing to move.
こちらはお客様のアンケート結果です。サービスの導入により半数の方が外出頻度が増えたとご回答いただき、地域の定着意向や知人、友人との会話が増えたといった行動変容の効果も確認をされています。
After the introduction of service, we ran a survey on local residents, and we found that they are more willing to go out more frequently, and also the growth founder of their community would like to live longer, and also they have more conversation with their friends and acquaintances.
また、オンデマンドモビリティサービスの予約は、弊社の専用アプリと LINE 予約で 59% を占めておりまして、デジタルトランスフォーメーションにも大きく貢献をしています。
This service also contribute to increase the adoption rate of digital technology. As you can see, that 41% of the residents use our mobile app to make reservation, and 18% use LINE to make reservation, a total of 59% of digital adoption rate.
続きまして、2つ目は医療マースのご紹介です。
Next, let me introduce our medical mass service.
医療の領域では、ご自身で通院ができないといった方ですとか、付き添いをされるご家族の負担、また慢性的な医師不足といった課題が顕在化しています。
In Japan, we are facing serious medical problems that elderly people have difficulty traveling to and fro to the hospital, and also doctors, we run a shortage of medical doctors.
このような課題に対し、医療サービスをモビリティの力でお客様の近くにお届けするサービスを開発し、地域医療に新たな選択肢をご用意をいたしました。
So it's growing more urgent to offer new option of medical service, and our solution is to make the medical service closer to the user, closer to the patient.
まずは岩手県北上市の医療マースのユースケースをご覧ください。
Now let's watch a video clip on the medical mass practice in Kitakami City in Iwate Prefecture.
地域と医療の架け橋、北上市モバイルクリニック推進事業。通院の負担を軽くし、医療をもっと身近なものに。自宅にいながら診察を受けられる新たな取り組みが始まりました。
及川さん、調子はどうですか？
ちょうどいいよ。
専用車両の中で病院にいる医師が画面越しで診察します。
風邪ひいたりとかしてないですか？
大丈夫だよ。
大丈夫だ。
専用車両が自宅に訪問するので通院の負担はありません。看護師がそばでお手伝いをしますので安心して診察を受けることができます。市は北上医師会、北上薬剤師会と連携し、複数の医師によりこの新たな診察を行います。
通院困難な方が、より医療にアクセスしやすくなりますし、いろんな恩恵があるんだなというところを感じます。その看護師さんが2人ついてきてくれます。そうしますといろんな機器ですね、不慣れであってもちゃんと操作してくれますし、こちらから話したことが聞き取りづらかったり、あるいは看護師さんが気づいたところをちゃんとこちらに伝えてくれたりもしてますので、そこも安心してお気兼ねなく受けれると思います。やっぱり医療者側にとってはその患者さんがリラックスして住環境を含めた周りの環境も含めて情報が得られるというところは大きかったと思います。
ここから歩いて
一人で？
うん、電車で行って、そして紫野から北上で降りて、そこで駅前でここでバスがあって、
はい、
そしてバスさん乗って。
じゃあ本当に良かったですね。
うん、便利なのよ。だから、
一緒に乗ってくれてる看護師さんとかは
ね、いいね。そうですね。私は最高だね。
うん、普通の時と違うわけではないな。だいたいあんな感じ。とてもありがたいですね。
いいことだな。
住み慣れた地域で安心して暮らし続けたい、そんな市民の願いを実現するため、地域と医療の架け橋を作る。北上市は新たな取り組みを通して健康と安心の地域づくりを目指します。
ぜひご活用ください。
いかがでしたでしょうか。
How do you feel about this video clip?
また医療マースは 病状が急変しない慢性疾患のオンライン診療からサービスを開始いたしましたけれども、最近では病状が悪化する前の段階でその診察をモビリティで受けれるような新たなサービスへとバリエーションを拡大をしております。
Our medical mask is not only for urgent disease, it also can be used for chronic disease that is worsening at a slower speed. So recently we start a new project that aim at chronic disease patients to help them diagnose their disease and offer treatment suggestion.
医療マースは患者のためのサービスというだけでなく、医師にとってのサービスでもあります。
And our medical mass service is not only for the patient, but also bring benefit to the doctors.
ご覧の図は訪問診療のケースと医療マースのケースの医師の診療時間を表しています。
As you can see in the slide, that there's a big difference in efficiency before and after the introduction of mass.
訪問診療は医師が移動しませんので、1時間で1人しか医師が移動しなければなりませんので、1時間に1人しか診察ができませんが、現状医療マースでいきますと診療と診療の間にオンライン診療をしますので、そういう点では医師の業務の効率化の観点からも有効性が確認ができております。
Before the introduction of MARS, an itinerant doctor need to spend almost 1 hour on just one patient. But after introduction of MARS, an itinerant doctor can spend just 15 minutes on a patient and then spend the rest of time on other hospital outpatient.
3つ目の行政マースは自治体の診療申請の手続きですとか、またオンライン相談などをこういった行政機能を生活者が集まる公民館ですとか、また商業施設にモビリティを活用してお届けしていく移動市役所を実現させたサービスとなります。
Our third kind of mass service is in public service that we create an itinerant city government that go to the local culture center to deliver public service to the local residents. For example, if they want to apply for file application documents or seek for government consulting.
それではこちらもユースケースをご覧ください。
Okay, now let's watch a video clip about public service mass of the Iwaki city in Fukushima Prefecture.
いわき市では極端な自家用車依存の生活様式や公共交通の不足などの解決のためいわきワンマースの取り組みを進めています。行政とモビリティを組み合わせ行政サービスが地域に出向いて市民の利便性の向上を図る行政マースの取り組みを行っています。証明書交付の際には専用回線を用いてセキュリティを確保しています。モネテクノロジーズ株式会社が開発したマルチタスク車両を用い中山間地域などを巡回し各種証明書の発行などを行うお出かけ市役所の実施のほか、ウェブ会議システムを用いた健康相談、学校での模擬授業の実施や防災訓練での現地対策の拠点としての活用をしてきました。9月8日に発生した大雨被害においては発災当初の物資運搬やきめ細やかな地域を巡回して罹災証明書の出張申請受付を行うなど多岐にわたる取り組みを行っています。いわき市は行政マース車両を活用しこれからも地域課題の解決に取り組んでいきます。
医療マース、行政マースで活躍しますモビリティがこちらのマルチタスク車両でございます。 1台の車両で複数の利用用途に応じて自由に車室空間を組み替えることができます。
To practice medical and public service MaaS, we introduced the multi-tax vehicle MTV, and MTV has free space and can be used in multiple purposes.
今年の年始に甚大な被害に見舞われました能登半島地震の支援でもこちらのマルチタスク車両を提供させていただきました。
And MTV also contribute very much to the post-disaster relief, especially in this year's January's Nodo earthquake.
ここまではMaaSのお話についてご紹介をさせていただきましたけれども、ここからはデータビジネスの取り組みをご紹介をいたします。
Okay, after we talk about everything about MaaS, now let me introduce about data service that support MaaS.
先ほどご紹介をいたしましたオンデマンドモビリティサービス、医療MaaS、行政MaaS、これを地域にご提供するプロセスをステップ1と捉えておりまして、この次にステップ2、ステップ3としてその価値を認めていただくためにお客様の投資に対するMaaSの ROI をデータで証明していくことを目指しています。
Okay, from the perspective of investor, we can use data service to show them about the ROI that's brought by MaaS step by step and in different kind of service in transportation, medical, and public service.
現在はこちらの KPI の設定、導入前のシミュレーション、実績把握、改善シミュレーション、こういったMaaSを成立させるためのデータ分析に取り組んでいます。
Data service is critical in the preparation work for MaaS. It can help the company to set up KPI, and make demand forecasting, and also make income statement, balance statement, and also to make even for make prediction for the future.
具体的には人流データや車流データ、住民アンケートに基づき生活圏の現状把握を実施した上で、予約成立率ですとか、また稼働率のバランスを最適化するよう検証していくようなシミュレーションを実施しています。
Let's use transportation MaaS as an example. That data service can help the company to grasp the situation about the flow of people, the flow of vehicle, and also to try to make a balance between reservation successful rate and also the vehicle utilization rate.
MaaS とデータビジネスのこれまでのサービス導入実績はすでに75の自治体にご利用をいただいています。
Now there are a total of 75 municipalities in Japan have introduced our MaaS service.
そしてこれからこのMaaSやデータビジネスの先に見据えておりますのがオートノMaaSになります。
Looking to the future, our company is trying to create a new kind of MaaS that combine automatic driving and MaaS. We call it Autono MaaS.
オートノMaaSの社会実装に向けてはMaaSの延長線上がオートノMaaSにつながる、そういったサービスの開発と普及、そして自動運転を安心して安全に運行するためのオペレーション開発、これが重要アクションとなります。
So we visualize Autono MaaS as an extension of our current service in transportation, medical care, medical service, and public service. And also we visualize triple helix, safe driving triple helix with people, with vehicle, and a society.
最後は 弊社が中期ビジョンとして目指していく価値についてです。
Next, I want to talk about our company's vision to create value.
それはマースと自動運転マースの最適な組み合わせを社会システムとして一体化するよう実装していくこと、そしてその価値を認めていただくためにお客様の投資に対する ROI を証明していくことを目指してまいります。
Our vision is to integrate our current mass and also the future autonomous mass to aim for integrated system, social system that create value for users and also generate return for investors.
モネテクノロジーズは地域を変える力としてこれからも体験格差のない社会を実現してまいります。ご清聴ありがとうございました。
We believe we are the power to change the region. We are the driving force to change the local community. And that's my conclusion. I thank you for your listening. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Morikawa, for sharing all these cases, society solutions provided by smart mobility in Japan. Next up, we would like to invite our penultimate speaker to the stage. Please welcome Mr. Karthi Madhavan, the country head of Tata Consultancy Services, to share the future development of electric vehicles in India.
Thank you. My name is Karthi. I do have a Chinese name. 我是马凯撒。我爱台湾。And that's the only Chinese I know. Okay, I'll switch back to English. So this is a presentation on the opportunities in India for EV. I think many stalwarts have already spoken about various technology things in EV. I'm strictly sticking to business here. The business opportunities, the challenges of India. I know India and Taiwan and India and the world are doing a lot of business now, right? There are a lot of opportunities in India, and this presentation is more on what kind of opportunities are there and what are the challenges that might be there. Okay? So very important, India is a big country. It's a huge democracy, free people, right? And the opportunity is enormous because India is directly going from 1.0 to 4.0, 5.0, 6.0. So we are, the change from where India is and to where India aspires to be is enormous. And very important to understand India is India growth is not just driven by investment. India growth is also completely driven by consumption. India is a great partner and India is a great market, right? That's very, very important to understand, right? India is an amazing market for people. So when people talk about make in India, we should also understand it's make for India, right? Make with India, make through India. Because there is enormous partnership potential with India for business, for production, for manufacturing, for services. Okay? So a couple of things. You will actually see that there is a lot of progress. Anyway, the presentation is for you guys. I'll not touch upon everything because there's a lot of data. But I will talk about the important data that is there. Right? India has 1.4 billion people. That's a lot of people, right? And Indians also travel a lot, okay? There's a lot of private ownership of vehicles, and there is also a lot of public vehicles, okay? Indian government has a lot of public vehicles. We are talking about, I'll give a simple example. The amount of government buses, public buses, not private. I'm not talking about the private buses at all. I'm talking about the government buses. We have close to about 280,000 government-driven buses. The scale is enormous. Now you include the private buses. This is just a bus. I'm not even going to the car. I've not even touched the two-wheeler market yet. So if you actually look at it, you'll actually see here that there is a lot of electric two-wheeler and electric three-wheeler market in India is enormous. I have not even gone to the four-wheeler yet. So the amount of electrification that is required in India and the amount of opportunity surrounding that is enormous. Okay? So there are major initiatives which are taken by the government. Okay? There are 7 C's. Anyway, government likes to use a lot of abbreviations and stuff, but very important is it has to be common. India as a market always looks at what is commonly available. So it is common, convenient, connected, congestion-free, clean, and cutting-edge mobility. Okay? India is known to operate with older systems, and we also very, very conveniently operate with the latest of the cutting-edge technologies. So one of the tremendous opportunity that is there is not just only in vehicles, but also the supporting infrastructure, for that. For example, the amount of opportunity that lies just in charging stations, right? The amount of opportunity that lies in the grid. Because if you have to change the entire electrification and the charging stations, the grid has to change, right? So the amount of opportunity for all the systems to put together is enormous. Okay? So this is something which is the global EV market. I think all of us, many speakers already spoke about this, the amount of market that is available. But very, very important is India, as I told you, has tremendous advantage with local production as well as local consumption. So one of the key things to understand is there is a lot of export potential, but there is amazing domestic consumption in India. The amount of business that Toyota or Honda or BMW or German companies or American companies does in India is enormous. Okay? That's a key difference between India and other manufacturing countries. Right? India is both a manufacturing place as well as a business place. All right? That's very, very key to understand. And, India's EV finance industry, one of the things that we talk about EV is we have to understand that this is also opening up a new, huge industry in financing. One of the challenges in EV is the amount of capital costs that go upfront, right? Both for the consumer as well as for the industry, right? There is a lot of upfront capital cost which actually goes, and that's a challenge that people have to address, and that's a challenge that many consumers who are now moving to EV actually face, right? The amount of capital it's a little capital intensive in terms of how we actually move to EV, and it's not an easy a movement there. And look at the battery infrastructure and the charging infrastructure. There is a total investment of 267 billion. The amount of charging infrastructure that is required and the amount of battery infrastructure that is required is enormous. Okay, so just by 2025, just the next year, the EV market in India will be touching 7 billion. And this is just scratching the surface. Just by 2025, in 1 year, we are talking about the EV market in India touching, I'm talking only about the EV market. And India is still selling your petrol and diesel cars. Please understand that. India has not yet touched the surface of EV. All right? So just by next year, we are touching about 7 billion in EV market alone. We have sold about 850,000 EVs till 2023. And this is the surprising part with India. You remember when mobile phones came, right? This was late 90s, early 2000. Yeah? Mobile phones in India, for the first 5 years, it took 1 million phones in India. It took 5 years to get there. All right? In the next 2 years, we touched 1 billion phones. Right? So it's very important for people to understand the scale and the opportunity of India. Right? The scale is very, very different because we are talking about 1.4 billion people. And these are free people who spend. That's very, very important. This is a free economy, and it's a democracy where this has tremendous opportunity there. So the union government has a scheme for advanced manufacturing hubs. India is a large country. Another thing for people to understand is India is a very, very large country. So the north and south of India is pretty far. All right? So when you talk of India, you have to understand it's a very, very large country. It's pretty much a subcontinent by itself. All right? So there is tremendous opportunities and challenges, especially for manufacturing. Because you have manufacturing hubs. There are certain hubs in South India, which are closer to the East Coast, towards the Andaman Sea, which has access to the East Asia places. You have places which are manufacturing hubs, which are to the West Coast, which is easily accessible to Europe and the US. So there are some key stakeholders for people who are interested. Anyway, these details are there. But there are some key stakeholders in India who have tremendous say in the entire EV industry right now. Of course, the government policy makers are in between, but there are financial institutions, there are electrification producers and the DISCOMs, which are primarily the distribution companies of electricity, the consumers, powertrain, charging infrastructure, and there is a lot of software power. You all know that India has a lot of engineers, right? We do a lot of work for many companies in India. Their entire software is written in India. We do a lot of business with Taiwan. We do a lot of business with Japan. We do a lot of business with Europe. And of course, we do a lot of business with America, right? One of the key opportunity areas for EV is not only in terms of consumption, but we can also be great service providers for the whole world because EV will need a lot of ongoing services, right? So key things, another one is, this is what I was saying. The state government transportation companies, the government alone is going to buy about 50,000 electric buses in the next 5 years. Just imagine if, the appetite for local consumption, 50,000 electric buses to be purchased only by the government transport companies, right? And these are just buses. I have not even gone to the two-wheeler and the three-wheeler segment. So these are some timelines. Most of this is just for information. Now I'll give you a simple look at this. This is the market share of India as of now, okay? Tata, which is, I represent Tata, we sold about 7,000 buses, EVs last year. MG Motor, which is your Morris garage, right? 1,650, but look at this. Everybody else, BYD, Hyundai, BMW, PCA, Volvo, Mercedes, Kia, all of them are just starting. All of them are just starting their EV footprint, I'll say. They are just starting. They are just touching the surface. So I was talking to a couple of my friends here. You should understand that you have to invest time and effort in India because the market is enormous, right? And you have to look at it because at this time, it's not just manufacturing or being a partner. It's also India has a great demand for consumption, okay? Look at this. MG Motor has partnered with JSW. You have the second largest player. And of course, Tata holds the market right now. But India has tremendous appetite for international products. And look at where it's going. We are talking about in the next 2 years or 3 years, we are talking about 100,000 and then 1 million cars in a year of sales of EV. Because that's the kind of market that's available. And this we are talking about the four-wheelers. But the moment you get to two-wheelers and three-wheelers, we also have this three-wheeler auto. Have you seen in Thailand, the tuk-tuk? Yeah, something like that. And three-wheelers are also getting electrified, right? And the number of three-wheelers in India and the number of two-wheelers in India, I know Taipei has a lot of two-wheelers. I always see Taipei, everybody zipping around in scooters. I love it. I'm a two-wheeler guy too, but the bigger ones, right? The motorcycles. But India has phenomenal capacity for two-wheelers and three-wheelers. Nobody has a right estimate of how many two-wheelers are there, because Indians also use a lot of old ones, okay? I have a 20-year-old two-wheeler. I also have a 10-year-old two-wheeler, and I bought one more last year, okay? So we all have multiple two-wheelers at home, okay? So the number of two-wheelers that are there right now is very conservatively looked at 100 million. That's a lot of two-wheelers. And the government is now saying, hey, I will give you a new scrapping policy where you can scrap it and you will get some credit, right, where you can use it to buy a new EV. All right? And it will take some time because in India, again, free people, the government actually listens to the people. It's very difficult to go and say, hey, scrap everything, right? People will not listen to it. But if you're going to give an incentive for people, just look at the market there. Enormous market there. This is state-wise. For people who know India, you will understand that this is actually the south and the west, which is actually leading. The south and the west is kind of more richer and more urbanized. The north is also catching up, and the east will also catch up. So look at this. This is the two-wheeler industry in India, where you will find a lot of new players coming in, especially for EV. The two-wheelers in India was dominated by the big four Japanese companies. You know, there was Kawasaki, there was Honda, there was Suzuki, right? And one more, Kawasaki and Suzuki and one more. I think 4 guys were there who were prominent, okay? And today, you have so many new guys, right? Especially in EV. Ampere, I've never heard of it. Ather, Hero Electric, TVS. TVS was a company which actually tied up with Suzuki, okay, in Japan. And Hero tied up with Honda. So it had a bike called Hero Honda. And Bajaj had tied up with Kawasaki. They had something called Kawasaki Bajaj. And all of them have now their own, Japanese have their own facilities there. But the point I'm making is you have tremendous opportunity for two-wheeler market and the three-wheeler market, right? And look at this. High-speed electric two-wheelers and low-speed electric two-wheelers. You have the high-speed ones, which are the motorcycle ones, which are more, traditional CC, we say, but this is in kilowatt, obviously. Now look at this. This is what I was telling you. 1 million, 100 million, look at that. Exports in millions, registered two-wheeler sales. Every month, March 2023, we had 86,000. In March, 1 month, we had 86,000 new two-wheelers being registered. This is new. So on an average, just imagine, on an average, if you're talking about 100,000 two-wheelers every month getting registered, you're talking about 1 million two-wheelers every year, right? And this is new two-wheelers. These are new purchases, right? And very important, we all understand this, you would have learned before, that the world sociology is changing a little bit. World is getting older, right? But India is still a very young country. The maximum number of Indians are between 20 and 35. So you're talking about huge amount of consumption, and a lot of young Indians who have disposable money. Okay, that's very important to understand. All right, quickly I'll talk about the opportunities that are there. So it should be very affordable. One thing in India is, please understand, India has great consumption, but you have to come to India and understand India, right? Most of the time, I see a lot of multinationals who come to India approach India without understanding India. Okay? You have to understand India. India is a very unique country, but it has a very, very different culture. Okay? A lot of varied culture in India. Okay? Free people, they make the choices free. Okay? They are used to a lot of technology, but they are also very, very culture conscious. All right? So I was telling my friend here, there is a huge market for Toyota's top-end cars. There's a huge market for Rolls-Royce. But maximum number of people also prefer the cheaper and the smaller Suzuki cars, right? So you have to understand that Suzuki, Toyota, Tata, Hyundai, Hyundai in your Korea Hyundai Motors, right? Hyundai has a huge market in India. In fact, for Hyundai cars, India is one of the largest markets globally for Hyundai. Hyundai is not even that famous in the US or in Europe, but in India, Hyundai is very, very famous because they came and understood India. They said India likes a boxy car, a small car, and which is very, very good in mileage. The fuel consumption is should be okay, and they understood that. So they came with their own product, and it's a super seller there, right? So my request is, please understand India. When you come there, it is very, very, price and service should be affordable. If you come and say that you are global guys, I'm #1 in the world, India will say, I don't care. Right? You have to be #1 for me. You have to understand me. Right? And India has a market for everything. You can sell BMW, you can also sell the lowest one. India has a lot of rich people. But we just don't show we are rich. Okay? We are pretty quiet about it. So look at this. Two-wheelers have been the preferred modes of transportation for people. This was true. Everybody who came to India, many of the big automotive companies who came to India, always thought that India is a two-wheeler market, right? It is a two-wheeler market. It's not because we don't have the money to buy four-wheelers. It is rich people also go in two-wheelers because it's time-conscious and there's a lot of traffic, right? So you will find in India rich people going in scooters. And they don't feel shy about it. It's just a transportation issue, right? So this culture of India you should understand. And now we have a lot of young people and many people buying four-wheeler cars. Because again, when young people have more disposable income, they want to live it up, right? And they want to be more safe. So now you have tremendous advantage of going to four-wheelers in India. Okay, these are some business opportunities. Kia Motors has plans. It already operates in India. Kia is a pretty successful car company in India. Maruti Suzuki, I was just talking to you about. It plans to launch its first EV model, fully EV model by 2025. Suzuki also has a hybrid. Suzuki has its Nexa platform running in India. Tata Motors, of course, Tatas are doing pretty well in the EV space. We are #1 in India right now, and we are also exporting across the world. Hyundai, I told you, they have plans to launch 5 new EVs by 2030. Hyundai has a huge market presence in India. It's a pretty well-recognized brand. Hopcharge, MG Motors, Mahindra & Mahindra, all of them are coming in, all right, because the market is enormous. Okay, this is a scheme in India. FAME actually talks about faster adoption in manufacturing electric vehicles. Okay, so that's a scheme of the government of India. Look at this. they are looking at a budget outlay of 1.3 billion to support 1 million e-two-wheelers and 500,000 the tuk-tuks I was talking to you about, the three-wheelers, that one, and 55,000 e-passenger vehicles and 7,000 e-buses. Okay? So the scale is enormous. Okay? Another one which is a great opportunity, especially for Taiwanese or global companies, is battery companies. Battery technology is an amazing area where I think there is a lot of potential. Okay? There are very, very limited technology and manufacturing facilities for battery. One of the key challenges for EV is not just moving to EV, but what do we do with the battery technology? I think not many people are talking about it because it is very challenging, but it will have to be answered. Because not now, but when 8 years later you want to change the batteries or you want to swap the batteries, people have to understand how do I make it more efficient and what do I do with the batteries. Okay? That's a very important area for which is up in the air. One of the things I was saying, battery waste management rules. You know, what do we do, especially for disposal of batteries? For a country like India, you have to understand, you know, the disposable is going to be very, very challenging because the sheer amount and volume that we are talking about. Even the disposal of batteries will be an enormous opportunity. Okay? So I'll quickly touch upon this. Some of the investments that are coming into India right now. Nissan is, you know, investing heavily, especially in the EV space. Maruti Suzuki is one of the leaders in India. They are investing heavily and they are looking to double their capacity by 2030. So as I was saying, you know, like how mobile phones happened, now the revolution in India is EV. Okay? So we are talking about massive demand. And so right now, you will find that in India, there is a waiting list. People are going and booking cars, and there is a waiting list. We are getting delivery only after 3 months or 4 months. Right? Just imagine when more Indians come and more Indians start to buy, we are talking about an insatiable demand, okay, for actual buying. Tata Motors, we are pretty much, we are doing okay, but we are looking at, again, doubling our investment to about 2 billion to develop new products and new platforms. Tata Motors had also brought the Jaguar Land Rover. So Jaguar Land Rover is a Tata company now. And most of the entire thing, we are moving into EV. Okay? Very shortly, I think Jaguar is, from next year, we rolled out the last combustible engine Jaguar last month. Going forward, Jaguar is going to be completely EV only. Right? And Land Rover, by next year, is going to be EV only. Okay? So that's a kind of commitment that has come and is very surprising. Jaguar and Land Rover are premium brands. So the premium brands are going more EV, and now it's getting pushed to the lower brands as well, right? Hyundai, I was talking to you about Hyundai, Mahindra, and SAIC. SAIC is the Chinese MG motor company. So all of them are investing heavily in India for EV. Mercedes also, Germans have now looking at how they're, right, till now, Mercedes and Audi and Volkswagen, all have been concentrating only on the top-end models in India. But now there is a serious focus of looking at how to get into the middle end and the bottom end, especially for the EVs, to make it more affordable and capturing the market more, right? Skoda, again, has a very funny, because Skoda has one of the biggest markets of Skoda is in India today. Skoda has got a very, very good brand name, especially in India. Hero MotoCorp, TVS, and Kinetic, these are two-wheeler companies and three-wheeler companies. Very, very famous. Again, you know, we are finding a lot of investment coming because now the traditional two-wheeler and the three-wheeler industry is now moving towards EV, right? So I'll quickly touch upon, we have time, right? I'll quickly touch upon the gap in policies. One of the key challenges in India will be the public charging infrastructure. Because today we have a lot of EVs being sold, but the traditional gas stations, right, which had traditionally been there, to add the EV charging infrastructure itself is a huge challenge. Okay? Massive amount of capital is required. We are talking about 1 million charging stations and then moving to 10 million charging stations. Now that itself is a tremendous challenge for us because it's going to put a huge stress on the grid. There are a lot of people who are buying EVs and now connecting to their own home garage systems. That is already putting a challenge on the grid, right? So it's nice and easy when you say that, hey, let's move to EV. But the associated movement and the associated challenges and the readiness of the system is still a challenge, right? So there is tremendous pressure on the charging infrastructure. There is a misalignment between subsidy, especially in charging infrastructure and vehicle subsidy, all right? So this is, again, always when government comes with something, there is always some misalignment and there are pressures and push-pull which happens. So there is some subsidy in vehicle buying. But for charging infrastructure, see, people usually buy only the car. They forget about the charging, right? They assume that the charging is taken care and we can actually go and plug it at home. But the problem is when you're traveling and you want more people to do, unless and you have public infrastructure for charging, this is not going to be useful in the long term. So there is a lot of pressure on the service providers who actually provide the charging infrastructure. Because finally, end of the day, it has to have cash flow and you have to make money. So that stress of what subsidy to give for EV manufacturers, the EV buyers, and the charging infrastructure, right? That becomes a challenge and it's an ongoing exercise. I think with economies of scale, I think we'll get there, right? The amount of money that you make for the first 1,000 is very different from what you make from 10 million. Right? So that's a challenge that's there. See this. In the four-wheeler segment, subsidies are provided only for commercial vehicles and not for the private ones. Right? So there is a lot of pressure there in terms of can I get some subsidy, can I get some assurance from the government in terms of value that I can when I actually replace my diesel car with the EV car. There are some bylaws which are now getting changed, especially for EV charging. EV charging is a great opportunity area for companies. I think in Taiwan you have Delta Electronics, which is there in India right now. They provide some charging solutions. I'm sure that multiple other companies are also coming into charging stations. What can be offered? Because again, the opportunity in India is unbelievably enormous. Okay? And this is something, allocation of charging infrastructure. India is also a very, very dense country. You have 700,000 villages. You have 50 mega cities, right? And you have close to 1 million small towns. Okay? This is the kind of, so you need to have infrastructure in all places. You cannot say that I'll provide you charging infrastructure only in the city, right? That becomes a challenge. You cannot discriminate between the density of people, right? So that becomes a real challenge of how to do. But again, where you have challenges is where you get opportunities, right? You make money when there is a challenge, right? You don't make more money when things are easy. You can have challenges, and that is where opportunity lies. So this is something which, many Taiwanese will know. You have this battery swapping bikes, right? Where you go and change the battery and put the next battery and keep going. So that kind of system is also looked at, but there is no financial support available, because the kind of banking systems and the card systems that are required for such a system is still not there. This is last couple of slides. This is a challenge, but it's getting addressed. India also has a lot of rules. It also has a lot of multiple certifications that are involved. So it's a very complex, we are trying to make it easy, right, to actually get, but there are multiple agencies which are involved in certifications. So especially when you come with new products, you have to get it certified with multiple agencies, and every new product has to go through the same cycle again. So the government is trying to address this, and I think this will be addressed very soon to make it easy. But this is a present challenge that we should be aware of, right? Especially homologation, it becomes a problem because you're talking about anywhere between 300,000 to 2.5 million will be the cost of certification, right? So that becomes a challenge for people who don't understand how the systems work. So this is what I started by saying, that there are also challenges in the grid, all right? The amount of challenge that will go to the electric system and the electrical grid will be enormous, because we are talking about massive usage of charging infrastructure that will put a challenge on the grid, right? Lack of IT on the DISCOM. DISCOM means the distribution companies for electricity. Those are also going through an upgrade, because when this is getting upgraded, one of the major challenge will be on the grid. Because all the electric distribution companies are now, they have to upgrade both their lines as well as their IT systems, all right? Unlike other countries, now India in towns we are going underground electricity. But most of the electricity is still by poles, right? And you have a lot of distribution loss. You know that. When it comes over the pole, you have a lot more distribution loss. But the latest one and the advanced ones are coming underground, right, with cables. So that itself is enormous capital expenditure. And please understand, Indian government also has, the size of the country is enormous. So unless and until the whole grid is addressed as a whole, the challenge will be on the weakest link, right? So this is something that is being addressed. Again, this is also a great area for opportunity. When you're looking at EV, don't look at just EV vehicle. The associated industry for the EV vehicles is enormous, okay? I think these are self-explanatory. There are, these are practical problems in a very old working system. These systems are already working. So to make them, to change them, requires both capital expenditure as well as behavioral change, okay? So this is something that we spoke about. The charging load should not be treated as conventional load. See this. This is also another challenge. Standard connector. So most of the time it's like your iPhone and your Android phone. Everything comes with different connectors, and that's the same problem in India too. Everybody comes with their own connectors for EV charging, that it becomes very, very difficult when you're going to put a public charging infrastructure, right? So these are some things that actually the industry should address, because these are not very customer friendly. Everybody comes with their own charging type, right? iPhone uses its own charging type, and this guy uses its own, but nowadays it's kind of, okay, you've come to C-type charging. But the same has to come to EV too. So these are some things. I was talking to my friend here. One of the great opportunity areas is also in training. There is an amazing opportunity area for training of officials, training of executives, training of professionals, especially in standards, in safety, in how this is moving in technology, right? Because these are working industry which has to now move. The challenge is actually like this, in automotive parlance. How do you change the tire by not stopping the car? You have to now change the tire when the car is moving, right? You cannot expect a country like India to stop everything and move to EV. That's not going to happen, right? India will keep people will keep living and they will keep using diesel cars and electric cars. And slowly they'll keep buying EV. And now the DISCOM has to move, the electric charging infrastructure has to move, and the companies have to move. So there is tremendous opportunity for training too. So this was what I was talking about. You know, the capacity development for the workforce, the capacity development for the government, the capacity development for all the associated industries, right? Enormous area of opportunity in terms of training. Last few slides, one of the things that we have to but I think this is also a strength of India. India does not offer credit cheap, okay? India, and that's the nature of Indians, okay? We don't, our stability in our system comes from the fact that we value money a lot. We don't give cheap credit. That's primarily because you have to be very responsible with money. So that comes with the Indian psyche. So you'll always find India has a lot higher interest rate than Western countries, right? Western countries have a very comfortable equation with debt. Indians don't have a comfortable equation with debt. We save our money to buy. We resist financing options mostly, right? So that is one challenge. When Western companies come to India, they always find it funny saying that, why do you charge 12% or 14% to buy a car? The interest rate in Taiwan is what? 2%, 3%, right? For your, if you want to finance a car, maybe 3%, right? But in India, it will be 14%, correct? Because we, as a country, we are very responsible with debt. That's why India you'll always find, even during a lot of global crisis, India will usually not have a crisis because we are very, very less exposed to debt. As a society, as a country, right? We should be very, very clear about this. But this is a challenge for many companies which come to India. They say, hey, I don't get financing options. But please understand, Indians are like that, right? We work like that. We are like that. So cost of the capital cost is also high. This is one challenge. Because in a country like India, where government has to balance, where do I put my capital expense? When there is a lot of social issues going on, then it becomes a challenge. Because there is a lot of things that the government has to bear the expense of capital expenditure. All right, last slide. The road ahead, very simple. You know, I think this century is actually India and the democratic century. There is a lot of opportunities out there. And again, as I told you, it is not just make in India or make with India, it is make for India also. India is a great market. India is a great opportunity as a partner. India is a great opportunity as a manufacturer. And India is a great opportunity as a buyer, right? Indians have absolutely no qualms in buying great quality. Okay, we are free people, and you know, but it's a very, very young country in terms of age and demography, and that is a great opportunity area because you have to look at India as a pure partner. Okay. Okay. Anyway, thank you. If you have any questions, we can take it offline. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Madhavan, for sharing the future of electric vehicles in India for us. And now for our last speaker of the day, we would like to welcome Dr. Tiem Song Gan, the head of program quality of Lilium, to introduce the innovation and regional mobility for Asia Pacific.
Very good afternoon to everybody. Thanks for having me here this afternoon at the stage, and a big thank you to the organizing committee for inviting me to these excellent sessions. I must say that the event has been excellent. I'm enjoying every day of all the activities, day and night. A big thank you to everybody. So, yeah, my name is Tiam Soon. I'm a Singaporean. You can tell from my accents. But I've been living in Germany for the last 21 years, working in automotive and aerospace company, big and small. But my last 4 or 5 years have been involved in startups, mobility startups. And one of them is this company called Lilium, which is developing eVTOL aircraft, electrical vertical takeoff and landing vehicle. So more or less in line with the agenda of today's keynote framework. But of course, I will not be talking about EVs on the ground. It will be something that will be in the air as well as over the waters, right? So maybe a bit of change. But thank you so much for my speakers, fellow speakers, who have explained elaborately all the different complex topics like system safety, like market in India, semiconductors, and the importance of computing powers for new generation of vehicles. So I guess my presentation will be much easier to digest. And I hope to keep it very short. There will be a couple of videos, and I hope you enjoy. If there's any questions, just come to me after the lecture, the talk. Okay, as I said, it will be regarding future regional mobility. I will be showcasing some innovations in this segment of the industry, especially air mobility and sea mobilities. And also, very importantly, since I come from the startup in the mobility sectors, I'll also be sharing some of my experience with you guys, especially those who are still working in the mobility sectors, and also some key takeaways to summarize my keynote today. So, just to set the stage, urban mobility is something that I think most of us are fully aware of. I think most of us came with some form of urban mobility solutions such as buses, taxis, or even scooters. And so this is something that's known. This is affordable. It's localized in urban environments like big cities or metropoles. And it's very individualized because it brings you point A to point B, right, in a city environment. Regional mobility is something that is also quite well known. I think some of you or many of you are coming to Taipei using some form of regional mobility solutions such as Gaotie in Taiwan. If you're coming from Tainan or Kaohsiung, you'll probably be taking the high-speed train. And for some people who are from the region, like Singapore, you'll be taking some smaller planes like Airbus 320 or Boeing 737, right, to arrive to these locations. So this is also something that is fairly well known to most people. Just want to highlight that this kind of transportation's regional mobility is based on a spoke and hub system. That means you have a fixed airport, fixed train station, and there will be connection between the station and the airport, right? Fairly fixed. So anywhere in between the hubs, it's not served by this form of transportation system, which is kind of restrictive, especially if you want to do A to B direct point-to-point kind of mobility, right? Now, for the future, future regional mobility will be something a mix between urbans and regional mobility. This is at least the endeavor that my company and some other competitors are trying to achieve. That is to provide new form of transportation system that are, first and foremost, affordable to more people, not just rich people who can take helicopters or private jets to arrive at the end destination from their home, but also accessible to people like us, right, at a more affordable price. And more importantly, to bring you closer to the end destinations without having to change, the mode of transportations that we all know today, so that it's more convenient and, in fact, hopefully faster than today's system, right? So this is just to set the stage and give you a clarity of the definitions I use in this keynote speech regarding future regional mobility. Now, the market is huge. I think there are a lot of forecasts about this future regional mobilities by various organizations, governments, or company. But of course, they are everywhere, but where are they, right? The question would be, in my view, they are based basically on a lot of coastal regions, like those East Coast and West Coast of US, certain part of South America. Obviously, in Europe, there is a lot of economics and industrial activities, North Europe's and Mediterranean areas. And much more importantly, which is also the theme of my keynote speech, is Asia Pacific, right? Asia Pacific is extremely suitable for regional air mobility or sea mobility because of its geographical characteristics, right? A lot of big cities, metropoles are located along the coastal regions, right? And they're not well served. Many of them are not very accessible, or it's very costly to hire a private jet or helicopter to reach them. You can also think about tourism, right? There are a lot of beautiful islands around, Asia Pacific area, which is it could be developed into very, very attractive and lucrative tourism spots. And that's where the regional mobility, both air and sea, could be very interesting value propositions for business. All right, this is some example of the range commuting between different cities. The reason why I put 500 kilometers because this is a very nice sweet spot. It's too far to drive, but too near to fly, right? So this area is often not covered properly by traditional existing infrastructures in the transportation system. So that's where the regional air mobility or sea mobility will come in very, very interestingly. All right, let me see, it's not moving. All right, okay, just to give you a flavor of what kind of solutions that I'm talking about. These two pictures are showing basically on top the product that my company, Lilium, is designing and producing. It's a vertical takeoff and landing aircraft with about 30 engines, fully electric, battery power, has a range of about 200 kilometers as of today. However, as you know, gentlemen and ladies, batteries are developing very quickly, so we could expect the range to go all the way to 500s in the coming years, and hopefully, before 2030 or at least before 35. More to this product, it's 4 to 6 seaters, so 4 to 6 passengers, 1 pilot, which is very attractive because pilots are very expensive. The less pilot you have, the less expensive will be the operating costs and training costs for the company. Just for comparison, we also have another examples from the US, Joby S4, which is basically the same kind of aircraft but with different architecture. Instead of having ducted fan systems, which is enclosed by the wings, ailerons, you have open propellers. There's advantages and disadvantages. I won't compare them because I just want to be friendly with my competitors, but both are equally good products. On the right-hand side, you will see a very similar product with a lot of propellers, but they are totally different creatures, right? These are what I call wing and ground effect vessels, right? These are not aircraft, so they are not certified by EASA or FAA. These are certified by the maritime organizations. So these are certified as ships, right? Which is advantageous. Why so? Because ships are easier to certify. They're less costly. It's faster to the market. So you can use automotive components or some other components which are not aerospace grade to build this kind of vehicle, right? And these vehicles are flying just a few meters above the sea, right? Meaning that it's very safe. What happens if you lose power? You just ditch on the water, right? And there shouldn't be any much problem to the passengers if you are properly attached to the seats. Right. So 2 examples here. So Volo is a company that's based in Munich. They are developing currently these new kinds of vehicles for the global markets. The advantage of these Volo vehicles on the right-hand corner is that it can also take off and land vertically, so that you don't have to get your feet wet when you move from one coastal city to the other coastal city, because they can take off and land on traditional helipads. The one below, which is called the Airfish 8, is from Singapore Technology. So this is a vehicle that is really flying today off the coast of Singapore and Malacca. So they're undergoing a lot of test flights just to prove the concept, and that's safe and certifiable. In fact, they are already certified by the Singapore authority. So any one of you, if you're interested, you can reach out to me after this keynote speech. I'll be happy to link you up with the general manager of this company, right? So just an overview of the solutions. What's interesting about this solution is that they are enabled by electrifications and computing innovations. Without these 2 kinds of technology, these designs, architectures will not be possible, right? So innovations drive innovations, and that's the reason why we are seeing these new classes of vehicle, both air and sea, emerging very soon in Asia-Pacific markets, serving the coastal cities and also urban environments, right? That requires these kind of vehicles to reduce the problem we see in the traffic situations everywhere in Asia, right? All right, so much about the theory and outlook. Why don't we just take a look at the product? So what you see here basically is Pegasus on the left-hand side and our demonstrator on the right-hand side, which is called Phoenix. We have been flying this vehicle for the last 3-4 years in the southern part of Spain, Andalusia, which is a beautiful place, nice weather, and I hope you enjoy this very short movie clips. If you could just play the video, please. So what you see here is a quick takeoff, vertical takeoff, transiting to horizontal flight. You see a lot of streamers attached to the wings. This is to indicate whether you have a laminar flow regime or a turbulence flow. Right, very important. If you have laminar flow, when all the streamers are straightened, it means that you are using the wing to lift the aircraft. That is a very efficient way to fly, so you can reduce the power, meaning that you can reduce energy consumption, meaning more range and more sustainability. Right, doing a right turn over these very beautiful plantation areas. These are all the olive tree in southern Spain. You can hear the noise of the vehicle. It's actually very, very soft. What I call whispering soft, right? If you like EVs, like those from Audi e-trons, right? When they take off from the roads, this very nice EV noise, this is 10 times better, right? You have seen it yourself live, flying. The orange probe in front of the aircraft, by the way, is to measure the airspeed and also the pitch angle of the aircraft. During this test flight, we are flying all the way to about 250 kilometers per hour, right? So fairly good speed. Now you see the actuator is moving up and down a little bit, right? And these are really fine control to stabilize the aircraft. And this is due to the very, very good flight control system we have, enabled by advances in computing power. Right? You can't fly this plane manually by the pilot, right? This is flown more or less automatically. Remote control from the ground station. So this is not a manned flight, this is just a demonstrator. Now, as this plane is approaching the runway, going back to the test center, it's a bit bumpy because we're flying during the summertime. So during the morning times, there's a lot of thermic air, so it's a bit turbulent, which is typical for light aircraft like Phoenix. So you see the streamers are fairly straight, so this aircraft is flying really laminar. So it's relying on the wings to generate the lift for the aircraft. The power reduction is, I think, down to about 30% compared to a vertical takeoff. Okay, I think the plane is reaching the test center, the runway 07. As you can see that the aircraft is slowing down and losing altitudes. The airflow regime is now becoming turbulence because now the engine is making the lift, creating the lift for the aircraft rather than the wing. Same for the main wings. Actuator is down and it's getting more turbulence. So now, right now, the engine is taking over the lift rather than the wing, right? Okay, the runway is in sight. Aircraft is slowing down and reducing altitude from about 2,000 feet to about a few hundreds. Coming close to the base leg of the test flight. Now we are at the final. That's the exciting part because now the aircraft is transiting from horizontal flight to vertical flight. The engine nozzle is now pointing more or less downwards. As it slows down to about 50 knots, about 70 kilometers per hour. reducing altitude further, coming close to the runway. Now the aircraft is fully configured for vertical landing. Engine power is at 100%. As you lower down gently onto the runway. So, a short bump and that's it. That's the demonstrator Phoenix. Okay, after seeing what we can do in the air, let's take a look at what we can do over the waters. So I've just shown you this Airfish 8 from Singapore Technology, and this is a vehicle that is kind of interesting because it's faster than a ferry, a boat, right, which is traveling about maybe 40 kilometers per hour, max speed for high-speed ferries. This one can travel up to 200 kilometers per hour, so about 5 times the velocity. It's safer than a helicopter because it doesn't fly very high. It skims over the wave at about 3 meters maximum. So anything happens, you can just ditch into the water. And there's not a single point of failure like helicopters, right? Helicopter has a rotor system, single point of failure, it breaks, and that's it, unfortunately. For this kind of vehicle, there's not so much of an issue. And more importantly, it's certified as a vessel, right? So it's less expensive than a seaplane. So we have the cost advantage, safety, as well as the speed, right? All kinds of value propositions for this kind of vehicles to replace existing mode of transportation for coastal region. So what is so special about this vehicle? Just want to highlight one very key technology that we are using to enable this kind of vehicle to operate. That is the wing and ground effect that is used by all kinds of animals, right? Especially big birds that are skimming over the waters. You see that in the documentary often that they like to fly very close to the surface. Why so? Because this is a very efficient altitude for birds to fly. In fact, we can reduce the air resistance, right, which is causing a lot of energy consumption down to about 20% of what is needed to fly at higher level. So imagine instantaneous 80% reduction in drag. That means almost 80% reduction in energy consumption, right? Highly efficient way to fly over waters. Now, using the same technology, of course, you want to apply to man-made vessel solutions. Of course, the question will come, where can we fly this kind of vessel, this kind of vehicle? There's so much high seas, there's typhoon, there's hurricane around. But if you look at data, right, this is a satellite imagery that we get from courtesy of European Union's marine services. And this is showing basically the reference height wave around the world, right? Those dark purple regions around the world near to the coastal area, especially in Asia Pacific, are ideal habitat for this kind of vessels, right? Because you can use them in this water. Of course, when there's bad weather condition, everything stops, aircraft stops, nobody's going out. So when the weather is good or nominal, you can use this kind of vessels, right, for transportation. So there are places around the world you can use them and effectively and en masse. Now, just to give you a bit of a feel and look about how this vehicle operates, I'm going to show you a video of this Airfish 8. Okay, that's the last video of my keynote today. I have 2 more slides just to share my experience from mobility startup. I think many of you probably are working in this area. I won't say too much about innovative product and funding. I think these are the key challenges that we all face. But beyond that, and also reflecting my fellow speakers today, is that it's very important for mobility startup to be aware of regulations and find a way to overcome them, because they are showstopper. You don't overcome the regulations, you don't find a way to certify a product, you can stop your mobility startup almost immediately, right? Unless you're willing to wait, right? But that means cash burns, cash flow issues. eVTOL companies are doing a waiting game a bit right now. Some will succeed, some will not. I think most will not succeed, unfortunately. But that's something that you guys have to know, right? Very importantly. Make sure that the business plan account for regulations. Second, market acceptance, very important. Why so? Because the customer don't come to you and knock at your door, right? You have to change the way they move from point A to point B, change the habits of commuting, and that needs a lot of educations, not just to end customers, but your fleet operators, buyers of your vehicles, and governmental agencies who are setting the laws and regulations to enable this kind of transportation system. Scaling is important. It's not about building 1 or 2 prototypes. It's about making them in hundreds and even thousands. So I don't have to explain that to my Taiwanese colleagues here, because they are expert, world-class in manufacturing thousands and millions of equipments of the same quality and cost and lead time. But for a lot of startup in Europe and in some part of Asia and even USA, this is not given, right? So scaling products, hardware, system is something that you have to be aware of. And finally, very important, AI solution has been discussed widely during this conference. I've been working with AI solution providers in my startups for the last 4 years, one of the tier 1 AI solution providers. I must say that for startups, it's extremely important to adopt AI solutions, even more than big companies, for various reasons. One is that you start from scratch, right? You have all the flexibilities and possibility to try all kinds of AI solutions to help you to scale, to help you to learn faster as a young company, because to come from a startup to a fully operational companies that can scale and produce and design, there are a lot of things that you do not know in the company, right? And you are small, you are lacking funding, you are lacking time. AI can short-circuit that for you, and this has been proven possible, right? So do think about that. Use AI solution for design, manufacturing services, and organization learning. Finally, just to wrap up my keynotes, beyond the land-based EVs, there is the emerging classes of air and sea regional mobility solutions. Innovations, electrifications, and computing systems are enabler of this kind of vehicles. Regulations, market acceptance, and skillings are still great challenges for this startup company. To solve them, make sure you have a good, balanced, experienced leadership team that can deploy, that can implement, that can really deliver, right? Not just vision, but also operations. And finally, collaborate with your regulators, right? They are very important. Involve them early in your business case. Make sure that they understand your business case, your product, your technology, right, to be successful. With that, I wish everybody from the mobility startup industries all the best for your ventures. All right, happy to get in touch with you if you have any questions. And once again, thanks a lot to the organizers of this event. Thank you so much. 谢谢你们. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gan, for your inspiring talk. We have come to an end for today's forum. Once again, let's give a big round of applause to all our speakers today. Thank you for traveling all the way to Taiwan. With that being said, that will be the last program for InnoVEX Center Stage today. Thank all of you for joining us. Please feel free to connect with each other until 4:30. We hope you have a great afternoon and enjoy the rest of the event. Thank you.